Kurigami is illegal here. So I'll make this legit by making it origami. In the second part, origami link. Or now we're gonna collapse him now from the crease pattern. So to start off, we're gonna first go ahead and fold this corner inside. And well, we actually only want to plate the one side, but I did it on both sides because I forgot, but that's okay. This is just mainly because like the one leg is just like, well, it's just a lot different here. So just, it's important to note that. So I'll go ahead and fold it up like this. So plan it like that. And this is actually where that one crease line in between the legs is going to be helpful. Although first I'm going to open sync this part here. I just added additional creases there to stay accurate to that part. We'll go ahead and open sync the model. Once you get that part open synced, we're then gonna we're gonna try and bring this part, connect the two legs together, hopefully in the right spot. And hopefully you can see it from here. So you'll fold it down like this. And yeah, so like, I guess like the hardest part is probably the stuff around especially this one part of the leg here. Can be kind of weird. So it's something to point out there. But what I'm trying to do here, so I'm trying to pull up this one middle flap. And then you get something like this here, and yeah, you use those crease lines. Hopefully if you see this results, then it should look good. There was one part where I did kind of mess up on the legs a little bit, but fixed it afterwards. But we'll have to see. Yeah, so something like that there. So you'll notice the one part is actually not even at all, as you'll need to see. Yeah, so you'll see right there. It shouldn't look like that. I don't know why I did like that for some reason. It just ends up blocking the one part. Locking the one part. And then right here, we're gonna get into narrowing the legs. Like so. And the legs, in the original design for Link, they used to have been like, they used to be a lot simpler to do the legs before. But, as the crease pattern began to change up a lot from the original, because the original Link design was like actually easier to fold. But like, it had issues. Like, the legs were shorter, the head was way too big. Like, it was all not that good. The whole solution was to make the sword flap, the head flap. So like, kind of switch those both together. And then the legs, I had to like arrange them so they're actually big enough. And thankfully I had enough room for that. I just made the shield flap smaller, which at first seemed like maybe it wouldn't work too hot, but like, to be honest, Link's shield is actually like not the biggest shield you would get. So it was actually like thankful that this whole crease pattern manages to work. Yeah, so right here, this is just finishing up with the narrowings here, and then I do a spread squash right here for obvious reasons there. Especially also kind of gets that skirt design that you get on Link's tunic, which by the way, for whoever has seen the original Origami Link video, the details are actually going to be a lot different this time around. And then right here, I'm going to do an open sync. on this side finally. And then I'm just flattening the model here. Also just fixing up a few parts. But beyond that, that's how it should look. Hopefully the legs should be even. The one part isn't going to be like in the perfect 22.5 degree system perfectly. However, that can be fixed up eventually, but it doesn't really matter in my opinion, just to try to do that well. But anyways, so right here we'll then go ahead and collapse it like this, which is, yeah, you literally the same steps when we back in part 1 when we pre-creased the crease pattern basically. And so be sure you get it just like that. And yeah, I don't know how to describe these folds, to be honest. It's just, again, a lot of collapsing. And this is just me just trying to be sure this one part is like lined up okay. It's for some reason was making this one corner like not perfect, which I don't think it matters once again, but it just didn't look good. And now I'm gonna do some inside reverse folds on all the 3 corners except for the one, which is gonna be a lot different. These ones you'll inside reverse fold them, and then you'll inside reverse fold these triangles here because we don't want those in the way at all. So we'll get a chest like that. So that'll be that sword flap there. That looks really tall. And then I'll go ahead and open sync these parts. And sometimes my hands will go off the camera. They tend to sweat sometimes. So that's just why I do that sometimes. So yeah, so again, this is basically just like part 1. For this part, there's like no new creases you're making yet. You're just open syncing these parts. Like so. And then you'll push this middle flap up. Again, just using the creases you've made before when we were pre-creasing before. So it shouldn't be too hard. Now this base, right now this model actually looks cool with. I just like models like these where, it just looks like more unique, or at least it's like asymmetrical. And yeah, so like the look of that was like pretty cool. But right now we're gonna shift the shield flap up to the right position, or at least we're gonna create as a flap first. Which to do that we kind of like, I mean, hopefully you saw what I'm doing here. But we're also gonna create this tiny flap right here. So this is just me playing around with it. Well, as long as you can flatten it okay, then it should be good. So you'll see that the one part of the leg is actually a lot shorter than the other, which is not really what I want. before we get into that, I forgot to open sync this one part. Or at least now, for this side, I'll do some stretches here by doing something like this. So you'll get a chest like that, and you'll do it one last time. Again, I can't even really describe this kind of fold, but you're basically like getting rid of those pleat flaps and using them to extend this leg flap even further down, which is exactly what I want for this design. But alas, the other leg flap is still kind of short, which is why this next part is pretty much going to be very customizable with how you want to do this. But you do want to try and get the shield flap to be a little bit smaller, to be at least on the same flap level as the head and sword. And that the other leg, which looks like it's going to be the left leg of this design, is in its right spot. Yeah, so here's a little crease pattern there. Well, at least just a little show off on how I did it, hopefully. And so I just need to narrow this part here, because obviously it's pretty big, and I don't want that on that one side. So then we'll then open sync the design like so. Which might be, depending on how you do it, can be like a little bit of some figuring out, but I mean, I obviously didn't have a hard time here, but this is kind of all I got here. So there we go. Okay, so next, as it seems, I think I'm gonna be, yeah, so I want to extend this one flap up a little bit higher. That's actually where the hand on the sword flap is gonna be. I mean, it's actually been really nice that it's there in the first place. Like, this is probably probably one of my favorite models I've folded. No doubt about it, probably. So yeah, so like, it's using like some box pleating techniques, like elas stretches, I think. But those kind of tricks here will help extend that more. And yeah, I guess I'm not expecting everybody being able to fold this. I mean, obviously I could do a better job with this, but beyond that, there's the arm flap there. And then this next part here is going to help extend the sword a little bit further. And you only need to do this once. You don't need to do it like twice, like with those other pleated flaps there. Just only do it once, and it'll be just the right length. Okay, so then this next part here is going to be creating the flaps for Link's face. And doing so, I first like to inside reverse fold that part, and then stretch them out like this. And And that'll be the head flap there, of course, or at least the tip of Link's cap. And you'll like, I don't know, just like squash him like this. And this is also just cool of how this part works. Like, it did make, sometimes it does make Link's head a little bit bigger, but like, you can get by that, of course, with like detailing it the way you want it. Alright, so after being done with this part here, I'm just gonna be sure this is nice and neat and all. And I'm gonna also do a stretch right here. Well, I don't know if I want to call this a stretch, really. I'm gonna create a sleeve flap right here on the side of Link's right arm, wielding the sword. Even though he should have been left-handed, but nowadays he's like right-handed thanks to like Twilight Princess on the Wii and so on. So it doesn't really matter. But now, then I'm gonna shift the flaps like this. This is actually a really cool part, or probably one of the coolest parts, really. This is just a really cool asymmetrical, if I'm saying it right, a really cool asymmetrical model. And then right here, I'm just trying to pull these, unlock these layers up, and it was actually kind of a little bit to try and do. I had to do maybe some stretches inside in order to get it to work. Stretches as in like how you would do in the Gussus molecule. So you'll do it just like that, while still having the one sword flap folded down like that. And right around here, we're getting pretty close to being done with the base here. But yeah, but at this point, so at this point, this is basically the whole base of the design. So that is to note from here. But, yeah, so while we're wrapping things up, oh yeah, and one more thing too. I am doing so terrible commentary right now. But one more thing I'm gonna do is, I'm actually gonna get rid of that small flap and use it to add a lot more layers on the side of Link's shield there. And that's just gonna be helpful for the details when we get to that point. But I don't think there's anything else now. Yeah, so that's the base of Link here. So we'll get into the details eventually. But in the meantime, you can check out the next video, and see ya.